Hello everyone, welcome back to Threes to Wound. It's time to check in on those spicy Phobos and see how they're coming along. First, as always, bit of housekeeping. Make sure you click subscribe and like below, and make sure you keep that little bell thing on so you get notifications when new videos come out, so you guys can stay in touch with this challenge and all the other videos that are coming out as well. So again, we're talking about the Phobos hobby challenge for Kill Team that myself and Ben from Brothers Tabletop are working on. It's still going strong, and there's probably about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit over left at the moment. So make sure if you work on your teams, keep staying in touch. Head to the Brothers Tabletop Discord server. There's actually a whole channel devoted just to this Phobos challenge, and there's some really cool stuff going on there. Everybody's chucking their pictures, their ideas, their bits and pieces. There's some really cool stuff in there, and it's so cool to see everyone so motivated and driven to get these guys done in the challenge time. You can also jump across to my Instagram, Threes to Wound. I'll pop Ben's Instagram up there as well. If you don't have Discord, that's fine. You can still stay involved. Just tag us in your photos and we'll make sure we share them. And we'll also, take your end results as well to do a little bit of a show reel or a highlight reel at the end of this season, I guess, to make sure everyone gets to see your really cool Phobos Marines. So for me, this last week and a bit's all been about building. Last one, I sort of talked a little bit about what I wanted to do. If you haven't seen that video, feel free to jump. I'll pop a link up somewhere. Jump back there, have a quick look. That just sort of shows me talking a bit about the idea, where the inspiration comes from, and some of the bits and pieces I'll be using. So my intention with building them was to come up with, I guess, the team I'm going to use, because as always, to finish this challenge, I'll do a battle report with the newly completed team to show off how they go on the battlefield. And I did a poll vote out there for you guys to see what team you'd like to see them go up against. And the clear winners, as you can see there, was the Chaos Legionnaires, or Legionaries, or the Chaos Marine guys. So they'll be there on the battlefield up against the Phobos. I've got my opponent lined up, and we'll probably play something out of the new Morak box set in terms of the rule set as well to show off one of the new missions there. So I'm really excited to get to that fight, but I've got to get the guys completed to get them there. So yeah, building was the first part, and I started with my leader operative. Now, looking at the rules, I know the Reaver leader may or may not. I think he's a bit of a contentious choice. Some people think he's not a good idea because they've got that ability to get the command points up. But obviously, for me, I just thought this model is way too cool than what I wanted to get in my team. I think it's one of GW's best models in terms of how dynamic the pose is, all the little bits and pieces and attention to detail. So I decided to take that, and then I wanted to Black Templar it up a little bit. The idea with my squad here is that, this is a bunch of more neophyte or trainee, Primaris from Marines, and this is how the Black Templar are inducting them. Very similar to kind of what they used to do with the Scouts, or at least with their Scouts, that they have them accompanying, being, I guess, effectively squires to an older sort of knight. Well, in this case, they've got like an older grizzlied veteran sergeant, bit like Sergeant Telemon or Telemimenmon. We talked about him last time. So I gave this guy an old man head with a very stern visage, very Black Templar, and I also upgraded his sword as well, because I just thought a combat knife didn't quite cut it for the Black Templar. I don't think, they're looking forward to getting a combat knife. They're getting a cool badass sword. So I used lots of the kits here from the upgrade Black Templar kit. The only thing I was sort of missing, because I had swapped their head out, obviously I've gotten rid of that Reaver terror mask or the ability to cause that terror. So I was trying to think of what's the way for these guys to be, apart from being an 8-foot transhuman 2-ton terrifying monster on the charge, how can I make them more scary? So I decided to give him, you can see there the little skull amulet or skull hanging head there from the chain, and that's kind of, I guess, his version of the Reaver mask. I picture that's got some kind of terror aura or screaming. And I've also added other little bone fetishes on him as well, just basically to give him that feel that he is kind of, wearing or carrying around the bones of his slain enemies, and this is a bit of an intimidation factor. You'll probably see as I go through the other Marines, one of the big changes I was trying to do was kind of cut down the Phobos armor. I was trying to make it look a little bit more lightweight, and to do that, obviously, was just losing a lot of the shoulder pads, and also giving the guys just like exposed arms. I know it's probably not practical, the most practical thing on the battlefield, but let's be honest, it's 40k, not everything's practical on the battlefield. So A lot of the other guys will be suns out, guns out. They'll have, the neophyte arms for a lot of their kits. This guy being the senior sort of ranking member and having the full license to his power armor though, he's fully decked out. So I didn't cut his armor down in any way, shape or form. Next up, the idea was to have a second leader model in the team, and I've obviously got to decide which one I'll go, but they can all be on the roster and I can decide game by game. I really wanted to get a few more incursors in the list. I feel like for whatever reason, maybe because they're bolt guns with lethal 5-ups, definitely much better. The incursors kind of get left out a little bit, but I wanted to put one in because I love all the extra little lenses and all the cool stuff they've got with the Oculus, carbines and all that stuff. While the other leader was very dynamic and in full flight, I wanted this guy to be a little bit more stoic and stationary. So I just kind of worked to that to kind of give him a bit more of a grounded kind of setup. And that's one thing I try to do. I try to find I'm going to sound a bit lame, I guess, but I guess the synergy or the movement of the model or the way it sort of flows, and then try to find the parts that work in conjunction with that. So not having a very active torso with arms that are very stationary and weird positions. I try to create dynamic poses that are sort of emphasizing what the model's sort of trying to show off. So this guy's a lot more grounded and set, like he's giving out orders and he's surveying the battlefield, while the Reaver guy was, going full ham, chopping heads off and saying, everyone follow me. I tweaked a few things here, turned his little grenade into a smoke grenade, gave him an extra pistol there, so he's got his Oculus carbine, just hanging off his hip there, and then lots of little just Black Templar little fetishes. I also like the visor. Pretty much all of the guys in my squads are helmetless and don't have rebreather masks. And that was the other half of cutting down the armor, that was that they don't have all that extra stuff. I'm thinking, maximum lightweights, combat flexibility kind of thing. So this guy having that visor headset is kind of his step up. And I picture that being tied into something with his bolter or the little, thing on his backpack. There's something going on there. Next up was the Vox Breaker. I really like the guy's little service skull he's got following him around here. I also like the little Game Boy he had in his hand. So I kept this bash pretty simple. Obviously swapping the arms out, swapping the head out, and then adding like the tabard to the middle there as well. So just to give him a bit more, change to his pose and all that stuff. And again, just trying to make sure that I got the pose in a position that kind of looks like he's mid-action. The Incursor Marksman is one I was really looking forward to, and I wanted to challenge myself. I'd seen heaps of people in the Discord coming up with so many cool different rifles and variants on this. People using the Eliminator models. There were so many cool options of what you could do with this guy. But I wanted to challenge myself a little bit to build like a custom marksman rifle for this guy. I also gave him an older head. I definitely feel amongst the Black Templar that there's not a whole bunch of guys who prefer to be marksmen. So having this guy as a grizzled veteran, and sticking to that and being, a designated shooter amongst the Templar is definitely very thematic as well. So another older head amongst the young ones to keep them on track. Also tried to reflect that status of, a very solid, dependable character in his posing as well. So he's very grounded, very stable, and very clear sort of strong pose that he's in. To start with, I had one of the Neophyte shotguns just because it was a great match in terms of having a longer kind of body on the gun and obviously having arms that already sat very comfortably holding that. I found a set that had it holding it nicely across his chest, and basically just trimmed everything back off it. So I took the bullets off the top, cut the little smaller barrel off the front, and then that was sort of the basis of where I built the rifle up from there. On top of that, I then added the marksman little rangefinder that we already had, added some of the other infiltrator little range and scopes things around that as well. For the barrel, I robbed another classic sniper of the 41st Millennium and actually took the barrel from a Necron Deathmark. I just basically chopped that off, put it on, and just drilled a little bit of the end in so it looked more like a rifle as opposed to an energy weapon. I also added a quick changeover magazine there as well down the bottom so he can reload with minimal movement or minimum hassle in the battlefield, so not revealing his position. The last part, which was the hardest, was I wanted to add a stock to it as well, because I picture most sniper rifles, you're always going to have a stock to settle into the shoulder to provide a little bit of stability. So I added an Imperial Guard las gun one to the back to give me a bit of shape. It was a little bit small, So I then bulked this out with some green stuff. Now, you might see on a lot of these models, guys, I'm really new at using green stuff, and I've decided the best way to learn is to do, so that's what I'm trying. I'm just chucking stuff out there and getting better at working with it, and I recommend that's always the way. Anyone out there, get better at kit bashing. Try things, get it wrong, mess it up, be sad about it, but keep going. Try it again and again because it's the only way you get better. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Some of my green stuff, once I base coated a lot of it, it kind of showed up a lot more of the imperfections I couldn't see once I'd done the molding. But hey, we're all learning here. Next up was the Infiltrator Veteran. This is, guys, definitely going to be a mainstay of the team. So I really wanted to create, I don't know, just a cool looking model. That was my mental brief for this guy, was just that cool, calm, collected veteran of 1,000 battles, even though he's still meant to be a trainee according to my own law. But you know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who just gets it. He's got the rule of cool. So I wanted a really strong pose for this guy. So I got from the kit, the Black Templar kit, there's one where he's actually holding a helmet. And I basically added little details, gave him a chainsword, and the big thing I sort of did to denote his veteran status was I gave him one of the Black Templar, I guess, bigger boy bolters, because he's obviously meant to have the custom weapon that you get to choose the rules for. So I wanted him to have a weapon that made him stand out from his brothers. It also has the full, like, chain to his wrist kind of thing, which I also feel like is something that is shows that he's got that veteran status, or a level of respect that the other neophytes don't have yet, or they're not allowed to chain their weapons to the hand. I'm not sure if that's an induction right or something, but I thought it looked cool, and I thought it denoted a bit more of a serious rank to this guy. He's got a cool guy head with a scar. Another thing you'll probably note, a lot of the more veteran type models, I've usually given little bits of extra armor to denote that. So obviously the Reaver's got the full Phobos kit. The other leader's got a larger shoulder pad with the little shield on. And this guy's carrying a helmet. So he's the only guy in the squad that appears to actually have a helmet. So it's just little details like that I try to show that as they get more respect, or they're moving up in the world, they gain additional equipment and things that show some respect there to them being skilled warriors. His pose is very straight up and down, very solid. He's very cool guys don't look at explosions. So, I like to picture there's him and then just a big explosion behind it, and him just like his hair just bristling as he just stares off into the distance with a 1,000-yard stare, Next up's the comms guy. This guy, pretty limited options in terms of really what I wanted to do with him, just because I kind of do like that he's got the little wristwatch that he's kind of looking at. So I just kind of tried to lean into that. I just adjusted the arms with some neophyte arms. I gave him like his weapon at rest, so he's concentrating very heavily on what his little pocket Nokia is doing there. Because in the battlefield, that's what this guy's job's going to be, is to buff up other units. So I just sort of thought that seems to be the best thing to do with this guy. Pretty simple. We've got the Incursor Mine Layer here, and this guy I didn't really know what to do with him as well. That mine's so big, I was like, where the hell does someone carry this? I didn't really want it in his hand, because I was just like, I want to kind of make it look like he can still move around the battlefield. So basically, long story short, I cut the hand that was holding it out, rebuilt the little middle part of that grip using green stuff, as well as adding the tabard to this guy, and just tried to put him like in a bit more of a dynamic position. So he's about to dash towards a position to plant his mine, or he's just planted one and he's yeeting out of there. So that's what the idea with this guy was. He's got the neophyte bare arms, he's got the bare head, so he's definitely the rookie explosive guy. And I love the look of the mines too. I think they look really, really cool. They're just such a big thing to model, and obviously you can see why he only gets to carry one for a game. Next up's the medic, an important guy for the team. This guy's obviously keeping everyone alive in the battlefield, and that's what I tried to kind of model here as well, is kind of him scouring through the battlefield looking for downed comrades. So he's kind of a bit more lower to the ground. He's kind of in mid-step looking, scanning the battlefield for wounded warriors, while obviously keeping his eye out for enemies as well. So, because he's got to be a soldier as well as a medic, so he's got to concentrate on both. I just adjusted this to have the neophyte arms, but gave him the little medical gauntlet there as well. Touched a cool head, and this guy's just a cool little model. Nothing too special, nothing too crazy, but I like how he came out. And the last of the guys is the Infiltrator Saboteur. So this guy's really cool. I like his rules in the game. I like the what he can do. And I just kind of tried to make this guy look like he just basically planted the bomb. He stood up and he's shooting at enemies as he's trying to get out of there as well. So trying to create a bit of dynamic movement. Probably one of my least favorite in terms of his overall pose. I don't know. I just didn't quite get this one as good as I would have liked. It still looks okay, but definitely not as strong. I'm hoping once I paint it up, I'm also going to do some different things to different bases to add a little bit of character to it as well. So I think I've got a bit of terrain or scenery I'm going to put. So I might even put that in front of him with a little bomb like he's just planted it on there or something like that as well. So there's still character and things I can do to add to the models just using the base. So just because the model's completed doesn't mean that you're definitely done adding character and theme to them. So that's something I'm going to be trying to add, and hopefully in the final video you'll see a little bit of that as well before they hit the battlefield. So that's it. I've built 9 operatives in total, but that's too many. We need 6. So for my first battle, I'm concentrating on building my team and painting just the 6 guys I think I'll use, and obviously I'll complete the other ones after that battle's done. I've got a day and a half to get these guys painted, so I'm looking at all different speed painting methods or ways to paint them, but I obviously still want them to look good. You know, I'm not the greatest painter, but I definitely take pride in having my guys painted on the table and looking like a good cohesive team. So tell me your tips below. If you guys have played some Phobos or played a lot of Phobos, who are the 6 must-take operatives? Who are the non-negotiables in the team? I've got my ideas, and I'll keep them to myself because I don't want to railroad the conversation, but I'd love to know what you guys are taking out there, what you've had success with. Any tips for using Phobos to help me win on the weekend would be hugely appreciated, so please make sure you jump in the comments below, and while you're down there, make sure you hit like and subscribe as well. That's it. I hope this video didn't ramble on too long. I hope you guys got something out of it. And I'm looking forward to bringing you the final piece, the battle report, with these guys on the table very, very soon.